Hi, it's Louise Platt at Spiral Bright Insight, and I wanted to share some musings in this video, which potentially are going to be quite personal. So I guess I'm going to be perhaps a little bit vulnerable, but I think it's important to sometimes be able to demonstrate how what we see in the chart is actually being reflected in real life. And all I can really do is share my own experience and my own perspective and my own impression and my own understanding. So what I wanted to do in this video is talk about what I describe as the shadow sign in astrology. And this is something that it came to me, I don't even know how, a few years ago when I was still learning, starting to work on charts. And it was the idea that where we have the sun in the chart, which is always, the brightest, most strongest, powerful luminary and energy in the chart, and which incidentally represents, where we are here to shine bright, to be lit up from the inside. And when we're lit up from the inside, we light up everybody else externally and around us by extension of that. So I will always look at the sun sign, but I was called to really consider the what I've termed as the shadow sign in the chart, which is the sign that lies opposing the sun. And if we think about, where the sun is kind of shining bright, there will be a shadow cast. And in my sort of explorations, my research, and certainly working on my own chart, I have noticed that this is very often the opposing sign. So for me, with an Aquarian sun, the shadow falls in Leo. And, this is an energy that I have always been a little bit uncomfortable with. And I hope I'm right in saying, because, it might just be me, but there are certain signs, particularly as I was early on learning about astrology and I didn't know about all the signs in the depth that I do now. There were certain signs that I always used to think, oh, I'm not sure about that sign. And again, this is going back now, but certain signs that I was just a bit like, I have since learned through, extensive work on my own chart and obviously, doing lots of readings for the people, that often the sign that makes you feel a bit uncomfortable, a bit wary, a bit, oh, I'm not sure, I'm not sure they're a so-and-so, type sign. I'm not sure about that. And they are the energies that actually you need to really sort of feed into and tune into and move and grow into. And this is kind of where my understanding of the shadow sign came from, because for me, my sun sort of casts a shadow in the sign of Leo. And again, without sort of being detrimental to anybody who is Leo, who's born in Leo rising, Leo moon, whatever, we all have Leo in our chart. So this is an energy that all of us are working with to some extent and in some respect. But and I also want to say that every sign has its lower and higher expression. So, there are sort of more negative expressions or aspects of every sign, as well as the positive. But for me, Leo, obviously the fifth sign of the zodiac, ruled by the sun, but very much about showing up, showing off, being visible, being admired, being applauded, seeking validation, seeking the limelight, seeking the spotlight. Very courageous, very loyal, very generous, very fun, very playful, very light, but also ostentatious, dramatic, competitive, quite ego kind of driven, which obviously, solar energy as well. So I always felt a little bit wary of Leo, and I would always, so anybody who I sort of considered to be showing up and showing off and being full of themselves, it made me feel uncomfortable. So I would kind of think negatively of that. Just admitting, we can all be very judgmental, can't we? But for me, it was always like, oh gosh, I'm not sure about that, and there's that kind of, oh, they're so full of themselves, who do they think they are type energy. But it wasn't until I really started working, in depth with astrology and getting to really feel the archetypes and learn about the signs that it became more and more obvious that, the energy of Leo in my case is actually the energy that I am desperate. My higher self, my soul is desperate for me to step into more, because through the opposition to my sun, and the fact that it is a shadow, and by shadow, I would refer to the energy as perhaps causing discomfort, moving me out of my comfort zone, triggering me, challenging me, creating resistance, so that I have to kind of work with it, but always like, oh, I'm not sure, but I can't. Again, it's like Leo is also very magnetic, so it's always kind of been there, kind of pulling me towards it, and it's always been like, oh, I'm really not sure about this. I don't feel comfortable being visible. I don't feel comfortable being seen, regardless of how I come across on this platform. Every single time I film a video, I often film them a couple of times. I edit them. I think, oh, how is it going to be received? Am I going to be judged? Am I going to be called out? And I've got this kind of negative, pattern in my head, this thread running through, which I know, having done a lot of deep soul work and deep shadow work for myself, and it's been really intense this past year, which kind of works with the, the snake energy of 2025. But I know that every time I feel I have to do this, it's kind of non-negotiable. This is part of my soul work, showing up, sharing, but it's also really, really hard, and I have to push through a lot of resistance, and I almost brace myself for the reaction. And I feel, and I know very much, that it's because in other timelines when I've done something similar, I might not have been on YouTube in another timeline or in another lifetime, whatever, but when I've tried to show up and share and and speak my truth, and it hasn't always ended very well. There's been really quite brutal consequences in more than one lifetime. And this is really what we refer to as the witch wound. So it's like, you feel that you need to be visible, but there's also that kind of undercurrent of, oh my God, if I do this, I'm going to be hurt, or I'm going to be mocked, I'm going to be vilified, I'm going to be, rejected, abandoned, or tortured, murdered, burnt, whatever. It's like and the nervous system, and again, I've been working a lot with my nervous system, and why do I feel this way, and what is the shadow, and what's going on. The nervous system remembers those timelines, even if they're not reality in this one. And actually, I do have experiences in this lifetime where I have been in the spotlight and it hasn't felt comfortable at all, because I've been, again, I'm not going to share, it's very personal, but I have been in the spotlight for reasons where, it wasn't comfortable, and I didn't like it, and I wanted to just get the hell out of there, ground to swallow me up, and just disappear, literally dissolve, because of the energy that was being directed at me. And so again, it's like the nervous system remembers that. And the nervous system is almost trying to constantly go, oh no, it's okay, I'll keep you safe. No, it's probably better if you don't show yourself up. If you don't show up, just keep safe, stay hidden, sort of stay under the radar, hide away, stay small, keep yourself safe. It's been such a strong theme for me through pretty much, well, certainly the last 20 years. But, certainly as I've come into, this career and this part of my mission, this part of my life, I have got that voice going, are you sure? Are you sure? But then there's also this like really strong like drive going, no, you have to. And I know that my blueprint, I've set it myself up for this. It's all there in my blueprint. I need to push through that. I need to just be in the position where I can reassure my nervous system and my previous selves, my inner child, whatever, that actually is safe, and that it is absolutely part of the work that I came here to do, to come and show up and to share and to be, as authentic as I can, and to speak about things that, in other timelines were taboo and forbidden and, dangerous, because ultimately it was powerful and true. But yeah, it's like, that there is always that, is it possible to push through the witch wound? And I want to say, although it's a work in progress, that I feel that yes, it is. So yeah, I guess I've just wanted to come on and share, this kind of whole study, exploration into shadow signs, and maybe invite you to think about what your shadow sign might be, is there anything in that opposing sign that does make you feel uncomfortable, or, challenge you, or create resistance or trigger in any way? Or is it, an energy that you're completely comfortable with? And it would be interesting, if you don't feel comfortable sharing in the comments. I mean, I'd really welcome emails on this as well. I've put this into, like, I don't know, over 350 readings that I've done, and no one has ever come back and said, actually, I didn't really resonate with that. So I'm kind of assuming that, I'm onto something here, but it would be interesting to get people's feedback if you feel called to share. And because ultimately, I think with any opposition, it is about integrating. It is about creating, that kind of, that meeting in the middle and pulling in, still very much shining in your sun sign in this case, but pulling in the energy of the shadow as well, to ultimately feel more whole, because this is about wholeness ultimately, and it's how we feel whole. We pull the energy towards us. It works on the nodal axis. It also works in any other part of the chart. Oppositions, can be quite challenging because we almost are being pulled in two different directions, and it does feel so different, so strikingly opposing. It's this, polarity in, its truest form in many ways. But it is about trying to balance that out and come into that middle point. So yeah, I would be interested to know if this is kind of resonating or it's giving you food for thought. And then how can you, if it does resonate and you are identifying shadow and perhaps, a sign that is maybe more challenging. There is another one for me that I've always been a bit wary of, and that is Scorpio. But I then found out that I have in my design chart, I have a Scorpio ascendant and a Scorpio sun. So I was like, okay, that's obviously other energy that I'm here very much to work with. And actually, I've been working with it massively, again, pretty much all year. So, this is, it's the gold, the wisdom in these sort of signs that maybe you feel a bit more about, that I feel that we are being called to really explore and dive deep into. So I just wanted to finish it off because I've got to laugh about this, but I think I set the intention earlier in the year. I kind of knew it was going to be a big year for me shadow wise, and it has been kind of non-stop. So much coming up, lots of different, stories and energies, and, again, I could probably write a book, and I think I probably will. But yeah, it has been a catalogue of stuff coming up. But I've been working with the theme of feeling safe, secure, safe to be seen, safe to be all of me, safe to show up, la-di-da. And I guess because I set the intention midpoint in the year, the universe sort of went, right, yeah, she's ready. Okay, let's line this one up. And so I find myself starring in a panto next week. We have our first big full-on dress rehearsal tomorrow, but it's actually going live next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, where, having gone and said, oh yeah, okay, I'll get involved. My husband's into amateur dramatics, so I thought it'd be something that I could do, kind of step into his world a little bit, get involved. I said, oh, I don't mind being in the chorus, I can sing, so it'll be fine. I thought, I don't really want to learn any lines. I don't want to be, I'll just be in the background. But no, the director and the producer had other ideas, and they assigned me the role of Scheherazade, the storyteller, which again, there is no irony lost there. So not only do I have a lot of lines, and I'm setting the scene, I'm telling the story, I keep appearing, at various points in the performance, but I open the show on my own. On my own, I come onto the stage on my own, spotlight on me, and not only do I deliver my lines, but then I sing the first two verses of the song before everyone else comes onto the stage. So I don't think I could be more exposed and more in the spotlight than, if I tried to write this. And I think what is being shown to me is that this is a big part in my healing journey, because I am going to experience, instead of being seen and being in the spotlight and all eyes on me in a negative way, hopefully, I'm kind of assuming that people are going to, maybe clap and applaud and, actually receive me and see me and appreciate You know, I've got, and I'm not saying that, you know, you don't, people that watch my content don't appreciate and don't see me, because I know you do, but this is about me. This is about my own stuff, my own wounding, my own, yeah, my own Chiron in Aries in full on. But yeah, it's like, okay, right. So I'm terrified, absolutely terrified. I will share a photo on my social media of me in my full costume. I will have glitter. I will have a crown with stars and moons on it. I've got a wand. Of course, I've got a wand. I'm magical. I talk about magic and believing and spells and la di da. I mean, yeah, it's just, it could not be more perfect, but it is pushing me out so far out of my comfort zone that I'm laughing at myself, thinking, how on earth could this happen? But then when I realise, you know, that this is part of my shadow, kind of, I set the intention to it, my shadow, and there it is. And also, again, you know, irony is not lost that next year in my next solar return in February, I have a Leo ascendant in my next solar return chart. So yeah, it's like, it's non-negotiable. This is, yeah, it's about being seen and about being comfortable, not bracing myself every time, not anticipating the worst, you know, even if I'm not doing it consciously, and just being able to, yeah, relax more fully into me. And I'm hoping that, you know, as I kind of share this, that hopefully, you know, you're watching, it might resonate, it might not, you might have gone through this, you might not, it might not even be on your radar, but I'm hoping that by kind of sharing my own story, that, you know, it serves in some way. And yeah, you know, because I do think we're all in this together to a large extent. And I also feel that, you know, the people that come and are drawn to me, you know, there is a connection, there is a resonance, or there is something, you know, that I can share that is going to help you in some way. And of course, you know, I think it's key that we are in this process at this time of letting go of all this stuff that's holding us back, you know, working with our shadow, bringing it in, because as we moved into next year, particularly from February onwards with Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries, you know, we are stepping into being full of the self, to being all of the self without apology, you know, in full autonomy, you know, completely owning our essence, our vision, our power, our identity. And, you know, yeah, autonomy is a really key word. It's like, you know, we won't necessarily be comparing or competing, because we will be standing as our own leaders. And I feel that very strongly for, you know, this is the start coming into 2026, but I feel, you know, that will set the scene for what is to come. So, you know, this is the key time for doing the shadow work. And, you know, I hope that what I've shared has helped and maybe given you something to think about. And yeah, I'm hoping that, yeah, as I kind of get over the desire or the key kind of default setting that is, or just, you know, stay under the radar, stay hidden, be much easier. Yeah, it would, but actually that's not part of my path, and I have to force myself every time to show up and to, yeah, and to yeah, just share. So yeah, and if it doesn't come across that way, I must be doing a good job of hiding it, but I really want to get to the point where I don't feel I have to, you know, that it's just natural. So that's a big share. But I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, as always, sending so much gratitude for anyone who's watching my channel and who is supporting, commenting, sharing, liking. We are growing steadily but surely. And yeah, just a reminder, if you want to work with me, I offer readings. We can, you know, do a deep dive perhaps on certain challenging aspects in your chart, or we can go for all in and do a full quantum soul guidance reading. You know, obviously all the options are listed on my website. And yeah, I will be back very soon with my full moon video. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.